the Shrewsbury Select Board. 2 of our colleagues are on well-deserved vacations, but we have a quorum, so we are able to proceed. We will start with introducing the board and staff members present. This is so members of the public can associate our voices with our names. I am the Vice Chair, Teresa Flynn.
John Samia, clerk.
So, Carlos Garcia, member.
Kevin Mizikar, town manager.
Justin Dobson, assistant to town manager.
Great, thank you. The first item on our agenda is to approve the bills, payrolls, and warrants.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item number 2 is to approve the minutes of the July 11th, 2023 meeting and July 11, 2023 workshop.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So voted. Item number 3 is announcements and reports. There were none that were brought forward to us. Do any board members have any announcements this evening? Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is the town manager's report, which I understand there is not a report
Nothing
this
this
evening. Okay, item number 5 is public comment pursuant to Select Board Policy 31 to offer citizens the opportunity to provide public comments during Select Board meetings on matters within the board's authority. No one signed up for public comment this evening. As a reminder, members of the public have until the end of business on the Monday prior to our Tuesday meetings to sign up, and we encourage those who are interested to do so. Item number 6 on our agenda is to review an act to transfer authority to the Chief of Police relative to dog hearings under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 140. Mr. Mizikar, are you going to provide an overview?
Yes. So this action proposes that the authority for dog hearings is transferred to the chief of police, which is one of the options underneath the general laws for the hearing authority for dog hearing matters. So the purpose behind this would be to provide a twofold, really, to provide more timely ability to have dog hearings should the case arise, and also present the dog hearings in what would be a more comfortable setting than a broad public meeting like a select board's meeting. It often challenges the ability for the board to hold a regular meeting and have a dog hearing in the same night, but it also brings what could be sensitive matters in front of a larger audience where it's not really necessary. So many cities and towns across the Commonwealth have taken this action to allow the course of business to occur through the chief of police, which I think is the appropriate setting for this to happen. So we're proposing the board transfer that authority through action at the meeting this evening.
Just a quick question.
Absolutely.
Thank you. In terms of process, everything stays the same, so notice, standards.
Correct.
Process, so it's just merely a change of the hearing authority.
Correct. That is
Okay.
right.
And other than having a camera, but it's a
That's
public
right.
meeting and anyone in the public.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Thank you.
I think this is a very good idea. I think I had 2 dog hearings in my first year on the board, and my understanding is the dog officer, the animal control officer, reports up to the chief of police. I think from an efficiency perspective as well as resident experience, I think it makes a lot of sense. So any other discussion from the board? If not, I will entertain a motion.
Sure. I move that we transfer the hearing authority from the select board to the chief of police relative to dog hearings.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Okay. Item number 7 is to review an act to adopt and sign the orders of taking for Glendale Avenue, Cypress Avenue, and Oak Meadow Circle. So by way of background, this board voted to recommend the layout of these locations at our April 11th, 2023 meeting, and the orders of taking were approved at the 2023 annual town meeting under Article 47. So this is the final step in the process. Mr. Mizikar, any additional detail to offer?
This just final thing is this just puts the town in the best position by issuing the order of taking. It would wipe out any lien that may exist on the property that we're not aware of. So it really puts the town in the highest position of standing for the property for these public ways.
Board members, any questions? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt and sign the orders of taking for Glendale Avenue, Cypress Avenue, and Oak Meadow Circle.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Agenda item number 8 is to review and act to set the select board's goals and priorities for fiscal year 2024. So this board recently held 3 workshops. We actually ran out of time on our June 15th meeting, so we met on June 20th and July 11th to discuss priority areas and goals, and our intent is to ensure that our focus is aligned with and advances the 2030 strategic plan. Mr. Mizikar and members of the town manager's office attended and have summarized the outcomes for our consideration this evening.
Great. So, Justin, can you just go full screen on that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So by way of background, there's really 2 opportunities that the board has to help inform staff and guide their own direction throughout the course of the year. The first is at the beginning of the budget process with the establishment of 2030 strategic plan. The board laid out strategic plan priority areas at the beginning of the budget process last fall. And that information with a strategic or a strategy area under each strategic outcome being prioritized by the board really gave staff the information that they needed to develop their budgets consistent with the priorities of the board. So the board identified a strategy within each of the strategic outcome areas. The first 4 are shown on the screen, and then in the subsequent slide, Justin, if you can go forward, was the final area. And again, this was adopted and incorporated within how we developed the operating budget for fiscal year 24. Just so you can move forward in the slide. So the board has, throughout the strategic planning process and through other actions, has had additional focus on how it will conduct business and through which lenses it will prioritize certain other aspects of its work. And those have been clarified through the lenses of community engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and sustainability. So that means that not only within the strategic priority areas, but within the goals that the board are considering this evening, there will be specific focus on, for each one of them using these lenses. So there will be a commitment to community engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and sustainability throughout all their work throughout the course of the year. And of course, at a staff level, those lenses are being used as well and are incorporated into the town manager goals, which are upcoming after this agenda item. So I'll walk through the 5 areas that the board came up with throughout the course of the workshops and are prioritizing for their own work. So at the beginning of the budget process, the board is prioritizing how funds should be allocated for the upcoming fiscal year. But these 5 strategic priority areas are the work that the board is taking on itself and leading as its own priorities throughout the course of the year. So the first area that was identified was land use, and the main topics that will be included in this area is affordable housing, open space, municipal operational needs, municipal needs when it comes to land use and land strategy. And within each of the 5 areas, the board has defined its near-term initiatives or characterized that by saying what would success or what does success look like in this area. So it's been further laid out within Area 1 to inventory and categorize land to best position the town to achieve its goals, and properties including but not limited to the following areas: open space and land preservation, recreation, and affordable housing. Develop a strategy for land currently owned by the town, and also develop a strategy of priorities for land acquisition that complements the board's policy on land acquisition for open space. So this wouldn't be limited to only open space acquisitions, but the board really wants to focus on how and when it would act in the acquisition of land for any purpose, and then what its recommendation is for using lands that are currently owned by the town that don't have a designated use. Again, there will be a priority given for affordable housing and open space. Municipal needs is something that should always be considered for the long term, but I think there's less of a need in that category based upon our discussions. The second area of 5 is to review the existing select board policies, make revisions and evaluate those policies to see if there's any gap or if there's a need to eliminate any policies where it does no longer suits the operational needs of the board. So that the outcome would be modernizing the overall policies of the board. Area number 3 is within budget and fiscal matters. The topics include fiscal budget projections, how to manage the override stabilization funds, and make sure that we have a up-to-date model that we can use for operations and capital expenses for at least the next 5 years. There's particular conversation with regards to this area for integrating the operating needs and the capital needs of the town. Obviously, both have impact on the tax levy and the amount of resources that we need to operate, and combining these what's currently 2 separate models into a single model will provide us more clarity as we move forward, again, over the next 5 to 10 years. So we're going to update and expand the fiscal projections to inform the board's decision-making. We'll receive input from the board on the priorities and ensure that there's good connection and knowledge about what the needs of individual departments are. And we'll also work on the development of a longer-term capital plan and a communications plan associated with these forecasts. And then, of course, finally, it would be to continue a strong and open relationship with the school committee regarding the financial planning that has been in place for a number of years and was enhanced throughout the course of the operational override discussion that was approved in calendar year 2021. Area 4 is social safety net program development. These social safety net programs really came to the forefront with the establishment of the American Rescue Plan Act funding plan, and the board saw the need to expand some programs that were already in place, including mental health services, but build upon their commitment during the override to provide tax relief and other financial support programs for the community, address and ensure long-term opportunities and programs are in place to address food insecurity within the community, and then work to maintain affordability and affordable housing within the community. So the conversations associated this were, this is a relatively new area for Shrewsbury to take on as a local government, but it's a critical need to make sure that residents can not only age in place, but thrive at any stage of their life within the community. So the board was looking to focus the opportunities over the course of the next year, define what the role of the local government, the town will be in these areas, and make sure we can meet the needs of these vulnerable residents. Focus on long-term stability, especially since we've used one-time funding in this area through the Rescue Plan Act, and complementary to that, find ways to use state and federal dollars where possible to augment any local resources that we put in place. So again, this is more of an emerging area for the board, and we'll do a lot of defining and finding the appropriate role for the town to pursue in the future. And then finally, the final area, Area 5, economic development. This would include business outreach and recruitment, business district engagement, and outreach to different areas and corridors within the community with regards to economic development. And success has been defined in this area is beginning to or pursuing the development of an economic development strategy. It's been long talked about in the community, and it's the next logical step to complement the master plan and the strategic plan. to develop an actionable set of items that we'll pursue for purposes of economic development, and then to establish sustainable resources to ensure proactive economic development role for the town. So this is something that we've pursued one way or another in trying to augment planning staff. We haven't really been able to bring it to fruition, given the workload of the planning department and some turnover within that. So we'll look forward to working with the board to continue to build upon our proactive economic development initiatives over the course of the next year. So again, these are the 5 key areas of focus that board members are going to be working on and leading efforts. It will likely build into future goals that are incorporated into the operating plan and other strategies that we'll pursue at a staff level, but I look forward to working with the board and discussing these with you this evening.
Great. Thank you very much for summarizing and documenting all of this. Board members, any questions or anything you wanted to discuss?
Just a quick comment, if I may, Madam Chair. So when COVID-19 happened, we were in the midst of doing financial forecasting, and having that flexible tool available to us, unbeknownst to us, the pandemic was going to happen, but we were able to pivot and utilize that tool, and it helped us plan to where we are today. And that's how I see all of these areas. They're not restrictive, they're flexible, but they provide guidelines. And I expect them to provide a lot of meaningful outcomes as we communicate them to the public over the next year, as well as they ripple throughout the organization. But it's important to have that roadmap because it also provides certainty for our residents. They know what we're working on with respect to financial planning. They know where we are as a community. They know what to expect, and it's ongoing efforts to communicate with residents in various modes as we have our communication strategy. But that's what this provides. It's flexible, meaningful, and not restrictive, but it also addresses areas that we think we've heard from residents are very important to them, and that's what we look to move forward over the coming year.
I agree. I think that, there's the roles and responsibilities of this where it's kind of, we can occupy our time just doing the business that is necessary, but I think we recognize that, we did achieve execution of the 2030 strategic plan, and we know that it is sort of an overarching strategy, but it does require effort to make sure that we are executing on areas to really advance that. So it's a little ambitious, and but I do think that we all seem very committed to wanting to make progress in these areas. And to Mr. Mizukar's point, I think when we initially were going through this, we had sort of community engagement as a section, or DEIB as a section, and we're like, nope, it relates to everything that we do. So that was why we didn't necessarily have a separate sustainability section. But as we said, as we work through all this, we will absolutely be looking at it through the lens of those 3 key areas to make sure that we are also fulfilling those commitments.
Right. I 100% agree. As John said, these are guidelines, and I think as we look at this through our lenses of community engagement, DIB, and sustainability, those will just help us hone in more on what areas the community really wants us to focus on in relation to our priorities, and I think that will help us tackle these, as you said, ambitious goals that we have set out for ourselves. And it may not take us 1 year; it may take us a few years to really make a lot of progress in our areas. But I think showing the community that commitment that we have in these 5 areas is a good thing, and I hope that community members are watching, are listening, and are part of the process when we solicit feedback or reach out to them.
So along those lines, I know that we will post these goals. What we necessarily haven't fully determined is how we will sort of measure our progress to these goals over time. So I think we should consider whether or not we will have periodic updates. We can do it at these meetings. Maybe it's a quarterly, here's where we are relative to these, just so we're keeping everybody informed of where we stand. Okay. So if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion.
Sure. I move that we approve the Select Board goals and priorities for fiscal year 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Item number 9 is to review and act to approve the town manager's goals and priorities for fiscal year 2024. So Mr. Mizikar had shared his working draft with individual members of the board, and this was also reviewed during our recent workshops. And I believe you're going to walk us through
Sure.
a summary of that as well.
So I'm excited to walk through 4 key goal areas that we will use to focus not only the efforts of the Office of the Town Manager, myself, the assistant managers, and our team, but also these are a catalyst and waterfall point for all goals across all departments. So we've, of course, worked really hard on the strategic plan, and the board set those priorities at the beginning of the budget process, and along with your strategic priority areas that you just adopted, I think brings a full complement of focus to the key priorities that are most important to not only planning for the future, but making improvements for this fiscal year for the town. So the first area that I'll hold responsibility for over the course of the next 12 months is the implementation of a communications plan and development of programs and practices that enhance internal and external awareness of services, activities, and accomplishments of the organization. So again, it's not a surprise. It's the next step in moving forward. So we have a strategic communications plan. We need to now develop those programs and practices and begin doing the work of making residents and other interested parties aware of the services that were provided. Some strategies within this goal would be to establish key performance indicators for all town departments. So what is the work of each individual department? How will we measure that work, and how will we share that information with the public? When it comes to communications itself, specifically, we will utilize that communication strategic plan to improve how we communicate across the board, regardless of if it's an emergency situation, ongoing operational situation, or those situations we're engaging with the community and informing the community about the work that we're doing. The second goal is to leverage and consolidate technology and business processes and systems to increase resident/customer self-service, convenience, and transparency. So this is really an internal focus goal on improving how we do business and interact with residents and customers. So we want to continue to improve our online self-service options for residents and business through a single point of contact, a single centralized customer service request portal that utilizes our existing business systems really at no additional cost. And that's something that we're proud to be able to do. We have good resources in place, and now we need to leverage our systems to a greater extent. We need to improve our end-to-end processes and overall customer experience for all billing-related items to the taxpayers and the ratepayers during fiscal year 24. And this would be just modernizing our payment and customer service options that are available through our website and to our residents and ratepayers when they come to the town hall. And then finally, would be a little separate from that, would be establishing a transparent progress portal so we can properly share with the residents and document the progress or lack thereof when that occurs towards the accomplishment of the 2030 strategic plan. This will, of course, provide transparency. It will complement and leverage the information that's being developed across all departments for key performance indicators, but also really be a simple stoplight look or dashboard at the progress that we're making towards that longer range 2030 strategic plan. The third of 4 key areas for fiscal year 24 will be to leverage and consolidate technology and business process systems to did I go the right way? Sorry. Oh, actually, you know what? I don't know what happened with my slides. Justin, do you have the same way? This is a duplicate from the first one, so we're missing one. I apologize about that.
Continuation of the.
Oh, I see. A continuation of the prior one. Sorry. So this touches on the final two strategies of the previous of the same goal area. I'm sorry. So those final three areas are also to conduct a comprehensive study for emergency communications and public safety dispatching, which is already underway, but we've committed to having information in place so we can make decisions with regards to the fiscal year 25 budget development when it comes to unified dispatching. We will also start the plan, which we received funding for during the May 2023 annual town meeting, with regards to how we will approach emergency medical services in the future. And then finally, enhance our long-term financial forecasting. So this is in complement to the board's priority in this area as well for the operational and capital improvement plans, so we can have long-range revenue and expenditure forecasts to inform our decision-making with regards to that area. And then finally, enhancing program services and physical infrastructure to increase the health and well-being of residents. So specifically under that area, we'd be facilitating the enhancement of recreation programs and passive recreation opportunities, ensuring the PFAS treatment plant design process, which is critical for public health and drinking water quality, and also federal compliance, executing the American Rescue Plan Act, and establishing a public-facing report associated with those expenditures, supporting economic revitalization in the town center because of its significance in the vibrancy of the community, and continue our investigation and development of major needs for town building and recommending and prioritized investment plan, which again complements the long-range capital improvement plan that the board is interested in helping us develop. So again, 4 key areas with about 17 or 18 different strategies that we will be working across all town departments towards the accomplishment of, and certainly providing regular updates to the board and public through our website in maintaining progress and transparency for these. So happy to answer any questions. We, of course, have had discussions on these in the workshop, and they all are tied to the strategic plan. So really no surprises here, but happy to discuss them with you.
Madam Chair, more of a comment. I think about when we started the strategic planning process and we talked to communities that had been successful in moving forward with their plan. What differentiated those that became either a nice shiny object on the wall or versus something that became interactive related to engagement with all stakeholders, particularly with staff, right? And that started at the beginning of the process. Asking them where the priorities are in the active engagement with staff, because they're going to be held not only accountable, but they're the parties that are executing, and empowering them to also align with these town manager goals. Very important for the long-term success of the plan, but more importantly, our community, but also our residents, because they were part of the process and will continue to be engaged in the process, not only through our goals and our priorities that we talked about, but also through the town manager's process. Because at the end of the day, the whole goal of this also is we have an active, vibrant community externally, but also internally. And the last thing this will ever do is breed complacency. And we have great staff here, and I think to continuously challenge them to do things better, but also let them know that their voices are heard, so we continue to improve as a community and we're all can thrive. So I like how this is all synced up. It's by design. And everything that we saw during the strategic planning process, that is the recipe for success, for the long-term vision and also for the community. So these are well done. Appreciate you syncing up with our goals, and look forward to watching us to continue to progress as a community.
Right. Just echoing John's comments. Really appreciate that our goals are aligned. That'll help better inform our work and just create better outcomes. One of the things that I'm really looking forward to is the progress portal, so that we can hold ourselves accountable and make sure that the community is also brought up to speed of where we are, and they can also keep us accountable. So just want to thank you for that, and we have excellent town staff, and I look forward to working on these with them.
I agree. I think that, I do think the portal and, even more line of sight into what the goals and work being done are and where we are relative to achieving them. We know that your performance review is tied to these goals. I think we all know, but it's important to note that it's not just these goals. It really is your overall body of work. So if you tank our budget or your entire staff walks out on you, but you meet all of these particular goals that are outlined, it's not necessarily going to be and exceeds expectations. But really happy and hopefully we can let residents know, again, maybe during our meetings, just to remind them that this information is available so that they can keep track.
And be a great subject to talk through when we have office hour. Well, an office hour now, and add the second office hour during
Yep.
the fall as well. Be a great opportunity to answer any questions that residents have and get into a deeper dive as to what these mean, and also understand from residents what it means to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Great.
it's good stuff.
Thank you. So there's no other comments. We'll entertain a motion.
Sure. I move that we approve the town manager's goals and priorities for fiscal year 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. We will now move into correspondence. Item number 10 is a letter dated July 1st, 2023 from the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission regarding appointment of delegates and alternates for fiscal year 2024. So noted. Item number 11 is a letter dated July 10th, 2023 from the Shrewsbury Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee regarding land acknowledgement statement Shrewsbury. So board members, we should review this correspondence as it requests we consider a town-wide adoption of a land acknowledgement statement to honor and pay respect to the Nipmuc tribal nations and other indigenous peoples. So I anticipate this will be an item on a future agenda for discussion. Item number 12 is an email dated July 13th, 2023 from Revital Gabay, 158 Walnut Street regarding help keep our community safe, request for safety improvements on Walnut Street. I know our chair, Mrs. Cassavant, requested a review by the Traffic Safety Committee, which is in process and being overseen by our DPW director. Item number 13 is an email dated July 16th, 2023 from George Smith, 33 Clue Street regarding noise complaint on Sunday, 7 a.m., Shrewsbury Animal Hospital and Spa. So noted. And item number 14 is an email dated July 19th, 2023 from Gretchen Schultz Ellison, member of Tipping Point 01545 regarding cooling and heating school/health. So noted. So that concludes our agenda. If there is not anything else to come before the board this evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.